My name's Phil, Leggetter. I'm head of developer relations. Out of interest, who's heard of Pusher before? Okay, not bad. Who's used Pusher before? Okay, that's a good first metric. I'm going to say 80%. So we're a hosted API that helps you integrate real-time features into your web, mobile, and IoT apps. I'm going to try and fly through this pretty quickly.
Whoa!
So I was out yesterday doing my daily training exercises, and I decided to pause and reflect in the mist about developer relations. Thanks to Joe for that one. And I kind of realised that developer relations is a bit like the Force. Sometimes you can't always see it, measure it, feel it, and you need to believe. And then at some point you'll be in a situation, probably around a board, like a big boardroom table, and somebody will ask that question, what's the ROI? And sometimes it's quite difficult to not use the Force in potentially a bad way. Can people see that? It's important. It's not really important. Can we turn those lights out? No. Anyway, you can see that one. So, and I don't want to be drawn towards the dark side. That's obviously marketing and sales. We don't want to be part of that. Although we sort of do marketing. Because obviously we're Jedis, right? We're part of the Jedi Order, and we do things in different ways. We resolve problems through patience, through apparently logic, tolerance, attentive listening, negotiation, persuasion, and calming techniques, but probably through stats. So this is what our developer relations meetup review sessions look like. So what I want to talk about now, honestly, is kind of what we do, what we can track, what we hope to be able to track. This is what we kind of have done in the past, which is, I think everyone will admit, is probably too much. Like, from everything from maintaining libraries to pre-sales technical calls, doing the documentation, and so on. So Pusher's in a fortunate situation right now that we're growing and we can focus a little bit. So most people remember this scene from Star Wars where Han Solo and Chewbacca are discussing our metrics. And so we can focus on the two A's in that. So we're going to focus on acquisition, which for us is signups, and activation. And activation for us is maintaining WebSocket connections for a single account and 100 messages on that account. So we know that means that. Well, we've decided that that's the figure that says that an application or an account is active. And the reason we've gone with that is because we know that when they activate, that 48.69% of those accounts will eventually pay us some money, which is a nice situation to be in, to understand that if you can activate people, you will get money from them 50% of the time. Sounds a bit salesy to me. I guess you've got to get paid. So from all of those things we did previously, our focus now is demos, tutorials, thought leadership stuff. So tutorials not only help people with signups, people become aware of what your product can do and they'll sign up, but also dormant customers will hopefully get an email or come across this blog post and then start to understand the value that your product can give. Thought leadership in the real-time space, I think it's quite important for Push to be seen as thought leaders, not only in terms of real-time, but also generally technology, which is obviously what we do in evangelism. We want to be seen as knowing what's going on. And events, hackathons. In terms of our focus right now, we really want to get people using our API. We know they're great for product feedback, but the focus really is to exposure to our API and what we do. Talks like this, obviously again, it's like what can you do with Pusher? Why should you use Pusher in a non-pushy way? But also things like sponsorship booths, where it's a great way of, if you can pick the right events, you understand the technologies that get the most value out of your company, the types of developers, you can pick those well and get decent ROI from those. So tracking. Digital is quite easy to track. It's the easiest of things to track. Whether that's the initial touching point or whether that's multiple touch points across like the process of them eventually signing up, if they've at least hit a digital piece of content at some point, we can, when they sign up, we know that they've signed up after touching a digital piece of content. Tricky things are, in person, like multi-channel stuff, like in person and then online, or multiple devices. So they originally go to your site or a piece of content on their laptop, and then they eventually sign up on their mobile. That can be tricky. In-person stuff is really difficult. Thinking about the digital stuff, again, it's great that we are able to track 53% of our sign-ups have at some point touched a piece of digital content, whether that's a referral, whether that's a tutorial. Tracking events is really difficult. There's no direct tracking. We can give out coupons, but we want to be able to give out coupons at sign up. John Sheehan he did a talk a while ago and said that Twilio tried coupons and it didn't work. Totally didn't work. Okay, so we might try it, but maybe it won't work. We'll maybe give everyone $3 million credit. Will that work? No. Maybe $3 million. We could get business cards of people and see whether they sign up. Sounds pretty dumb to me. Or we could just go digital with everything. So I've seen a lot of trends going towards webinars and live coding stuff. Again, you've got that digital footprint. You can work out if they eventually sign up. Relate blogs and so on. So when we do events, we do a qualitative analysis of them, and we do simple stuff like how much did it cost? Were the types of developers we think get the benefit out of our platform there? How many attendees were there? What did we think of the other talks at the event? Were they of good quality? Did we engage with the attendees, or did they engage with the speakers? Did they engage with each other? How many people were in your talk? Simple stuff. And how many people have heard of push before, which is always quite a nice measurement. Correlation, I think, is the more interesting one. And what I mean by that is we do a bunch of activity. So I think, like Rob touched on the geographic stuff, which is something we haven't thought about, but that could be really valuable. So we publish a piece of content on Technology X, or attend an event on Technology X, and then we look at stats. So we look at sign-ups using that technology, and we have a wizard when you sign up that users provide information about what technologies they're going to use. So we know whether or not we've just done a bunch of events on like Python or PHP, and we get loads of, for instance, Laravel. We've done a lot of stuff on Laravel at the minute, and we've seen a massive amount of sign-ups using Laravel as a framework. And also API usage. So this is something we can track but aren't at the minute. So we have APIs for interacting with we have SDKs for interacting with our APIs. So if we know which SDKs are being used, we know which technologies are being used. And if we've just done a bunch of stuff around Laravel or Node, and we can see those stats reflected in our API usage. Something I'm pretty proud of in terms of our developer relations activity. So Pusher was actually founded in 2010. In 2011, we got $1 million, I guess, seeding funding stuff. And from that point, we had a little bit of money. So I was hired to do developer relations stuff. And in general, the company focused on doing developer relations stuff. And from that point on, we had this nice line, this increase as we created content or we went to attended events. In early 2013, we decided not to do as much developer relations activity. And this was the result. You can see this drop in signups. And then towards the end of 2014, we decided to do developer relations activity again. Deserves a firework, right? So awareness, sign-ups, and if we can then activate those sign-ups, we know it delivers value to the company. There's a glaring omission in all of this. You can see what I've not mentioned: developer relations, right? So I haven't at all spoken about the important thing of building relations with people. How do you track that? Every time I meet someone, I make sure I check their cloud score. If it's below like 40, I'm not speaking to them. No, I'm kidding. We don't do that. But I think it's very difficult to understand the value of relations. Actually, in this room, you develop relations, you access a lot of other developers. It's probably quite obvious to know that if you build relationships with people here, that relationship and the value of that's going to spread. But it's quite a tricky thing. Anyway, so we can measure the value of developer relations to a certain extent. But sometimes you simply need to believe and use the force, right? You didn't use the goggles there. When I told you blew up the Death Star. That's the big round planet for the bad people film, right? So that's me, thank you.